Hello everybody, I'm the Last Pretender, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about magic. So put on your pointy hat, get out your wand, because we're going to Hogwarts. It's going to be just like Harry Potter or The Magicians, minus the British kids and the sex. So basically, it's not as cool. But it's Dominions, and you're a nerd, so you'll like it. Moving forward, we're going to take a look at one of our magical units. We got this guy right here. Now, he's got a lot of stats going on here. He's got some combat speed, he's got some precision, he's got protection. Well, I guess he doesn't have any protection, but he's got some hit points and some strength and defense skill and all that good stuff. But that's not what we're going to be talking about today. Today, we're talking about these stats right here, which are his different paths of magic and the power that he has in each one of them. So you can see he's got one hammer, one skull, and one question mark. Now what the heck does that mean? Well, these are sort of the different paths that he's powerful in and how powerful he is in each. So there are a total of 8 magical paths that you can be powerful in. There's fire, air, water, earth, astral, nature, death, and blood. And this guy's got earth and death. Now what that means is that whenever you're looking at a spell, and we can go over that another time, but whenever you're looking at a spell, it's going to have a certain power level you have to be to cast it. So if we take a look at these two spells right here, there's Fire Darts and Flame Bolt. Now, Fire Darts requires only a 1 in fire magic, and Flame Bolt requires a 2 power level in fire magic. So, a level 2 fire mage is going to be able to cast both of these, whereas level 1 fire mage can only cast Fire Darts. So obviously, whenever we're looking at our guys, the more points they have in a particular field of magic, or a particular path of magic, the more powerful of spells that they're going to be able to cast of that particular type. Now, there are also some spells that kind of mix these two together, where you might need like nature and astral magic together in order to cast it and that sort of thing. But this still covers the general concept, right? You're going to have symbols, and you need to have your mages match up to them in order to do it, or surpass them in some way. Okay, so that was probably all well and good sounding, but you might be asking yourself, okay, Last Pretender, I get it. So, whenever you're needing to cast a spell that requires a 3 air mage, then you have to have level 3. But is there any benefit to being stronger than the spell that you're casting? For example, if a level 3 fire mage were to cast Flame Bolt instead of just being level 2, are there any additional benefits? The answer is in most cases yes. You can tell by the spell. So you pull up the spell card like you see here, and you just mouse over where you see a plus. So for example, by range 45 you see a little plus. And if you mouse over it, you'll see the range is increased by 5 for every extra level the caster is. And whenever you mouse over the plus by the damage, you'll see that it says damage is increased by 2 for every extra level the caster is. So if you were a level 3 fire mage casting Flame Bolt, you would get an additional 5 range, bringing it up to 50. And you'd get an additional 2 damage, bringing it up to 24 damage. So this is pretty good. But wait, it doesn't end there, because there's even what I consider to be probably a more powerful aspect to it, which is the consumption of fatigue. So how does fatigue work? Well, it works very similarly to fatigue whenever a unit is attacking something, which is to say that every single time a mage casts a spell, he generates more fatigue. The amount of fatigue is always going to be listed on the spell card. So once again, with Flame Bolt as an example, you're going to generate 20 fatigue whenever you cast this spell. Now, what we were talking about, however, is the benefit of overcasting, of casting at a higher level, I should say, I guess. Whenever you do this, you generate less fatigue. How much less? Well, it's 1 divided by 1 plus the mage skill minus the minimum skill. So if you end up casting at a point higher, then the mage suffers half the fatigue. 2 points higher, he suffers a third of the fatigue. 3 points higher, he suffers only a fourth of the fatigue. And so on and so forth. So basically, just like with the other units, whenever you reach 100 fatigue, your unit passes out and they can't do anything else. Which is obviously a problem for mages, because then they can't cast spells until their fatigue goes back down. So if you have a higher level mage who's casting spells, he can cast more of them for longer, so that way he's able to do more damage or throw out more buffs, whatever the case may be. Something else that adjusts fatigue is what they're wearing. So you can see if we pull back up our original little wizard boy, we can see that he has an encumbrance of 5. Now, encumbrance of 5 is quite a bit, and basically it makes you incur more fatigue. The way it works is that the amount of fatigue is equal to your base encumbrance value plus 2 times any encumbrance value of any armor that might be worn. So with our original sorcerer guy, he's actually not wearing anything. So he's not going to have extra fatigue. He's only going to have the 5, in part because he's old. But it's not going to go up any further than that because he's not wearing any heavy armor or anything like that, which can really spike up his fatigue. You're familiar with this kind of idea, which is it's harder to cast spells when you're wearing heavy armor, and that's why your wizards got to wear robes so that they can stay loose and fit and do all kinds of magical hand gestures. Oh, and one other thing I darn near forgot, which is the little question mark we got on our original guy beforehand. If you recall, he's got earth and death magic going for him, and he's got this question mark. Now, what is this? Well, it's a random magic. Basically, whenever you make one of these guys, he's going to get a additional random magic ability, or he has the potential to get one. So if you right-click on the question mark, you'll find that you'll pull up this little window. It's called Random Magic, and it'll tell you the possible paths that this particular unit might gain, so a +1 in that level, and the odds of him getting it. So in this case, he has a 100% chance of getting one of either fire, air, earth, or death. So he might become a level 2 death mage, or a level 2 earth mage, or also become a level 1 air mage, right? But he'll only get one of those 4 paths. Now, sometimes you'll see multiples of this. You'll see a question mark with a 3 by it or something, and maybe they've got a 100% chance to get water or nature magic and a 20% chance to get either death or earth or something like that. So these are things that can kind of be the variables between the same type of mage that can make you kind of value one or the other, or give one some utility. Now that's basically what we're looking at as far as combat spells go. Now there are ritual spells. The difference being is that combat spells are cast when you're actually in battle. Ritual spells are spells that are cast that take basically what's considered over a month's time, which is 1 turn's worth, and they're cast on the strategic map instead of on the battle map. So these are often powerful spells that consume gems, which again I'll get into in the next video. But they're not affected by fatigue or anything like that. Generally speaking, the primary thing they're going to be affected by is you're just trying to hit a level. Again, sometimes if you're casting with a stronger caster, you get additional summons and that sort of stuff, so it can vary as far as that goes. But fatigue doesn't play in because, again, the idea is that this is taking place over an entire month. And I think that's a short little video that's hopefully a good little introduction into Magic. I was originally going to do my next video here, but I kind of wanted to set up the stage a little bit for Magic and kind of how that functions before I go into explaining gyms and the gym economy and why it's so important to have gyms, why we love gym, Jiminy Jim. So, until then, this has been The Last Pretender, and I'll see you guys next time.